Hi, we're back. Hopefully the technical difficulties will end. So I'm really excited to introduce someone to you by the name of Diana Peters, and I think you're going to really enjoy her. And as you know, I try to run the gamut of wellness topics so that they're interesting to everyone, and this one is of particular interest to anybody who's a parent. So let's Hi,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's one of those mornings, one of those
Happy Friday.
mornings. Like every day feels like one of those mornings where you're like, oh, I forgot construction's happening at my house. Oh, I forgot. Okay. We're hanging on by a thread, but we're good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. Yeah, it's a little I sat down and I hear blowers outside and
Yeah.
I'm just like, what is going on today? It's not even like landscaping day. I don't know. So I'm in the same boat probably.
Yeah. Well, so where are you? Tell us where you are.
So I'm in Mission Hills in San Diego. If you're familiar with San Diego, Mission Hills kind of is nestled in between Hillcrest and Old Town.
Yes.
We're just about 7 minutes from downtown, maybe 10 minutes at most from downtown, and 7 to 10 minutes from the airport. So pretty coastal. Don't have ocean views, but get a nice breeze.
But you know what? Honestly, everybody in the country probably wishes they were in San Diego right now. So
We're very lucky here. We are. Yeah.
yeah.
But, 60 degrees is like UGG weather.
Yeah. So funny. That's so ridiculous. I love it.
It is pretty fun. I'm like, oh my God, it's freezing. Like, what is going on? And then it's like, he's like, it's 65. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I love San Diego. That's so funny. Well, let me introduce you. So this is Diana Peters, and Peters with S.
Yes, correct.
Good. Okay, good. And we met through a mutual friend that I know you work with, and she told me about you and what you do, and I was like, oh my God, I've needed her for the last 5 years of my life, and I have incredible sleepers. Like my kids are phenomenal, and it is still hard, and I am still constantly going, I need someone to help me, like, because everything is seasonal with children, and so the minute you feel like we've nailed this parenting thing, the next day it's like, oh no, send in some help. So I feel like I could have used you, and I'm very excited to now work with you. And I think so many parents are going to be watching because they're going to want to know, like, what is this thing no one's ever told me about? So before, I'll let you explain exactly what you do, but I want everyone to know that your title officially is a sleep consultant. Is that right? And
Correct. A pediatric sleep consultant.
Okay. And you have extensive training for this, and you started this company, but this is not where you've started. And
No.
so I want to, start by letting everyone know kind of how you built this, how you came to this, and where you came from.
So my background was kind of, not like everybody else's, but I had a 9 to 5,
Yes.
and I had a long career in commercial real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And then prior to that, I actually owned and operated my own ballroom dance studio for 9 years.
That's
So I know, so kind of, I made a couple of big pivots here and there.
Wow.
Long careers, but eventually just decided to like pivot. And when I had my daughter, we started off like with books and things like that. And I think a lot of parents are like, especially moms, like when they're pregnant, they're trying to get ready, right? And
Yeah.
they're reading books and they're, following people and reading blogs and trying to get as prepared as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found out is there's really no preparation. I mean, you could read all the books there are,
Yeah.
because you may have, and you probably, every mom knows this, especially moms with like more than one child, they're all different.
Yes.
Right. So the things you experience with baby number one, whether it's colic or they were, not sleeping or gassy or whatever it may be. And then you have baby number two and they're like night and day. And then baby number three somehow is still different.
Yeah.
And so there's just no preparation is kind of what I figured out. But when I had my daughter, I was kind of in that same boat. Like, whoa, you know, as much as I knew I was like going to lose sleep, as much as I, you know, I was like, okay, life is not going to be what we know anymore, and we're going to be sleeping, it's going to be nuts. As much as I knew that, I still wasn't prepared.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of parents don't have any ideas about what they can do, what really can you do to prepare. And they don't really know that there are things out there to help. And the things that I found is like there are so many books, and I posted something on my social media last week. It was literally a conversation among parents going, hey,
Yep.
I'm reading this book and this is what it says, but it's so confusing. And then someone chimes in going, yeah, same here. And that's the problem with books is like, yeah, and you might have a textbook baby that fits the book perfectly,
Yeah.
but there's going to be questions all the time, and you can't ask a book a question.
Yeah.
And so what I found out is, hey, there's this, you know, there are sleep consultants out there, and they help, and they're customized, and they're tailored to your baby. And that's when I was like, why don't people know about this? This is crazy. I didn't certainly know about it for, you know, a really long time. And so when I sleep trained my daughter and saw like what it did, I was like, okay, this is a game changer. People need to know about this. And so I decided to start the company, Sleep and Potty Co. It's called Sleep and Potty Co. There's a lot of thought that goes in, that went behind the simplicity of everything. When parents get to the point where they're seeking someone like me out, they're probably at their wits' end.
Sure.
And ideally, they can start when they're not, but sometimes it's just not on the forefront, or they think, hey, things are, or things may be great for a little while, and then all of a sudden, bam, it's like, I'm not sure what happened.
Right.
And so we wanted to keep everything very simple. So I'm certified in sleep, in, you know, pediatric sleep consulting, and in potty training as well. And so we basically offer customized sleep plans for parents. And yes, you know, there are generalities based on age for children, but again, all kids are different. I have a niece that is 2 weeks apart in age from my daughter. Yeah. And they are very different sleepers, and we've customized her, you know, we've tweaked her plan and tailored it to fit what she needs versus what my daughter needs. So it's definitely not a one size fits all, but we offer support to parents and plans. And then they have, you know, during their plan, they can reach out to me. They can reach out with questions, they can text, they can email. And that is the big piece, because sometimes you might think you know, or you are doing the right thing, but you're just not sure. And that little confidence of like, hey, this is what happened today, this is what I did, and you're like, yes, that's great, and you're just like, okay, and it gives you confidence. And honestly, it's teaching the parents too, so they start to understand what to look for, what to navigate through, and things like that. So Sleep and Potty Co was born basically out of necessity for me, but then also out of, I think, the lack of information that's out there for parents, that to know that this is out there, that you don't have to just hang on and wait until your baby sleeps through the night, and hopefully that's soon. But you know, I've heard so many parents that are like, I have an 18-month-old that doesn't sleep through the night, I have a X-month-old that doesn't sleep, and you're just like, wow, that's, I don't want to do that. I need my sleep.
Right. Yes. Well, I think you said so many really good things that I think, you know, us as parents deal with, and like the fact that each child is so different. There's just, you can be told that, but until you experience it, your mind doesn't comprehend it. No. And it's really incredible. I'll give you an example. My personality is very structured. So all the mommies, when I was pregnant, said, baby wise, you're baby wise mom. And I was just told that's what I was. And so I figured, well, of course, that's what I am. Like, not knowing anything at all. I read the book and I used the structure, and my son is a fantastic sleeper. The problems that I found personally, as structured as I am, is I came up against like, I had issues with nursing, and I had a lactation consultant, and she was just beautiful and wonderful and coaching me through things. And like you described, like I could text her, I mean, just that relationship was so sacred to me. And what she was teaching me that was working for my son, and he was eating and thriving, went against what the book was talking about in schedule. And so I think that was the first moment I realized that great guidelines, but this was not written for Keisha Yokers and Jackson Yokers. And if you know, as an inexperienced mom, I was so afraid. I was like, well, I have to do what the book says. But you know, like that's not true. And that can actually cause damage when we're so legalistic about like these parenting styles. And so I just realized at some point I took the structure from the sleep and the naps and then I threw the book away and was like, we're going to do what feels right for us, because this is our story. And I think that was a super liberating moment for me. And then with my second child, who's adopted, you know, one of the most important components of adoption is bonding and attachment, and always will be. I mean, for all children, but certainly adopted children. Sure. And so I was told by all the adoption mommy community that I was in attachment parenting. That's who you are. And so it's so funny, like the pendulum swings, and then I'm in this other community where everyone's like, this is what you have to do. And it was just like, no, I've got to figure out what feels right. And I'm going to take the best of this, and like try to find my true north. So I really do think that that's like such a key point, because every child is different. And before we have a kid, we like try to put ourselves in like camps. Like I'm with this mom. I'm with this mom. Yeah. Like it's crazy. So do you see a lot of that when you're working with moms? Do you feel like, or no, I mean, not just moms. I mean, you probably work, parents, same-sex couples, anybody. Do you find like new parents put themselves in a category and they get stuck on a philosophy or something they've been told? Are you breaking that in them?
It sure can. I mean, you absolutely, I mean, just like kids, parents are the same, right? You get all sorts of parents, and you're going to get parents that are like, I'm going to do exactly what you say. Thank you. Yeah. Like, great. And then you have parents like, well, you know, my mom said to never wake a sleeping baby. And it's like, no, you are supposed to wake them. Like, you need to wake them up. Like, there's actually a reason why you do wake them up. And it's funny because I had to fight that within my own, like, extended, you know, I have aunts and you know, that are like, you're waking her up. And I'm like, yes, I am waking her up. Yes, I'm definitely. They're like, no, like, you don't do that. And I'm like, no, I am waking her up. And they just thought that was the craziest thing. Like, she's sleeping, let her sleep. And it's like, it's just like adults. If you take a awesome nap in the afternoon and you're just like, oh my God, I took like a 2-hour nap, you're not going to bed at the same time.
Right.
You're just not going to. I mean, I don't care. You're staying up past your normal bedtime. Yeah. So there's a reason why you do certain things. So yeah, there are some habits that are like kind of hard to break. And I think some of the things that we tell parents are kind of like, almost like counterintuitive. Like, they're like, what do you mean? You know, my kid's not sleeping and you want me to put them down earlier? Like, you're not listening to me. I'm trying to say my kid's not sleeping through the night. And you're like, yes, I understand, but they need to go to bed earlier. Yeah. And so there are just little things I think that, you know, are a little hard to grasp. And again, you have all kinds of parents, and you've got parents that are just going to, you know, understand that, hey, I'm here for help and tell me what to do, you know? And then you're going to have other parents like, but I'm, and you're just like, I know, trust me. It's
yeah.
And you're not, and a lot of it too, you know, you've got, like I said, little kids are so different that there are, like, we work with parents for stretches of either a week, 2 weeks, depending on what packages. But that's kind of part of what we're doing too. We're fine tuning for, you know, Susie, Jane, Jack, Paul, like, it doesn't matter. Like, that's part of what we're doing, because there isn't a one size fits all. And, you know, like I said, even with kids that are born 2 weeks apart, there is a great difference from one baby to the next baby. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, so what are some of the, if you're going to give kind of some high level tips, what are the things that are the most common? And if anyone has questions, please just put them into the chat. But what are some of like the common struggles that you see with sleep? And then I'll ask you the same thing with potty training, because that's, you know.
So with sleep, I think, like, I don't know, common struggles are just generally like night wakings, struggling with naps. Sometimes people wait a little too late to kind of start or jump in. They kind of ride it out. And, you know, newborns, like when they're born, that's all they do is sleep. And so people are like, I have this great sleeper. And it's like, no, you have a newborn. You know, like, it's like, you don't really know what kind of sleeper you have until later. I mean, my daughter, I remember, was sleeping in her bassinet at probably 5 weeks old. I had probably 14 people in the house. We are a very loud family. I mean, like, loud. I'm surprised the neighbors don't hear us. And she's sleeping through it, like, not, and it's like, yeah, she's 5 weeks old. Like, she'll sleep through anything.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of times that they just kind of wait a little too long. And there are things that they can do. You know, I said you can't really prepare in terms of like mentally prepare, but there are things that you can do like while you're pregnant to get ready. And part of it is like setting up a proper nursery. You know, kids especially when they're babies, newborns especially, they're born with like day-night confusion. So a lot of times they are asleep almost all day and then party all night long. And that is not great. So it takes a while for that to resolve. But setting up a proper sleep environment, like making sure that the nursery or wherever they're sleeping is really, really dark. It helps like create melatonin. It helps signal, hey, it's time to go to sleep. Even sound machines, making sure the temperature is in the right zone, 68 to 72 degrees, swaddling them. There's a lot of things, you know, with newborns, they're not going to sleep. I mean, if you have a newborn and you think, well, why is my newborn not sleeping through the night? Girl, they're not going to sleep through the night. They have to eat every like 2 to 3 hours. It's impossible. But there's things that you can do from day one to like start laying a foundation of making it super easy when they are physically able to sleep through the night. Laying them down or putting them down when they're drowsy but awake. And it's like, you know, Baby Wise. I read Baby Wise. Drowsy but awake. Okay, did you know what drowsy but where is drowsy but awake? What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Do you know? Did you know? Because I didn't know what drowsy. Okay, so you're like drowsy. Well, they're drowsy, like their eyes are, no, that's too late. So if their eyes are kind of closing and fluttering, you've passed drowsy. You're like in sleep already. So drowsy but awake is where they are clearly awake and they're just calm and mellow. That's drowsy but awake.
Didn't know that. Still looking back.
So and that's one of the parts that it's like drowsy, great. Drowsy, like, that's an oxymoron. I feel like almost it's like drowsy, because when I think of drowsy, I'm thinking, you know, this like eyes are fluttering, they're almost off to dreamland. That's too far. That's definitely too far. So we really, really work on with newborns, setting them down. And with newborns, it's really, really hard. But obviously, you do want to follow like the, you know, eat, wake, sleep. There we go. The eat, wake, sleep, making sure that they're getting full feedings, working on that. It's super hard to do that from the very, very get-go, but there are things that you can do, because you want to think of like the feeding as like being, you know, as they're ready to sleep through the night, like it's like a gas tank. Once you filled it up for the day, they're good to go at night. And so, you know, those are a
great analogy.
So it's like, and if it's not full during the day, if they're not getting what they need, then they're not going to get, you know, longer stretches of sleep. So there's a lot that people can do from day one. Start like, and if you're constant, and I know newborns are like snuggly and they've got that newborn smell and you're just like want to hold on. And I get all of that. And it's okay to like rock them to sleep. But I think it's a great time to also just start to put them down, even if it's just right next to you on a play mat, that they are able to be set down and laying there and practice not being held in your arms and rocked to sleep. So there's a lot to do.
Absolutely. I think we have a question. Let me see. Do babies need to get to a certain weight or age before they start sleeping 12-hour stretches?
So for 12-hour stretches, generally you want to think of, you know, I think Baby Wise even kind of talks about this, but around 12 weeks is when they can start sleeping 12-hour stretches. And sometimes it can be 11 weeks, you know, and it can be a little bit longer. But once you've got them to where they're getting like full feedings, making sure that they're full, but typically around 12 weeks, they can start sleeping 12-hour stretches.
That's good. And Maria, if you have any other questions, I know this person in particular just had a baby, so ask away.
Oh my God. Yes, please, like, set up the nursery, practice putting, I don't know if the baby's a boy or a girl, but practice putting him down while he's still awake. Even if it's just next to you and you can interact and you can hand on the chest, but just get them used to not being held, because newborns, for the most part, they're either held or they're sleeping. They're either held or it's almost like those are the two things. And trying obviously to establish like proper, like keeping them awake, even if it's for like 5 minutes after they're done feeding. It's going to be really, really small wake windows, but you want to try as best as you can to start having like awake time and keeping them a little bit, awake and slightly stimulated after they've been fed. It's hard with a newborn, but you'll get there with practice.
What's funny is I just now thinking about it, I feel like I had a coach in that one of my dearest friends was like, she reminds me of you so much too. So she would be like, do not hold them all the time. Like you have to stick to this: eat, play, sleep. Like there is, from day one, she was really, really forceful. It's a strong word, but about it, because she's like, there's something biological. You want to constantly be holding your baby.
Yeah.
And what's so funny about it, it's so powerful that even as you and I are talking about it, there's something in my brain that's going, God, I think I want another baby. And that ship has sailed for this family. But there is this biological response in me that I'm like, I need one. I mean, so of course these things are really hard to do when you're in it with your brand new baby and you are just connected, and the smell and the oxytocin, but it is going to set you up for a lifetime of success. And what my friend said to me, I'll never forget, was you are not going to live in baby land forever. You are going to have an elementary school child and a high school kid, and like you're trying to set them up for like long-term success.
Right.
And that starts right now. And that was really helpful to have somebody who wasn't like, like somebody who was outside of my situation go, I am trying to set you up for a win, sister. And that is why I really think like everyone needs you, because you need somebody objectively to tell you these things. Because you get this kind of conventional wisdom from mom and grandma and all, but, and not that it doesn't work for them, but like we have very little time, and new moms right now, like working, quarantine,
my God.
We need the structure. Give yourself a break.
And it's like, I've had friends that don't follow any sort of schedule. They're just kind of like, and this is where kind of parents come into play too, because if parents aren't following a schedule, and listen, everyone is allowed to raise their children however they want. And if that's a path that they're choosing, more power to them. But what I found is I'm kind of like you. I'm very, very structured. Here we go. Sorry about that. I'm very structured. And so for me to be able to, like, as new mom, get things done, I kind of need to know when things are happening, right? So that I can go, okay, this is what's happening. I have this time. I can schedule this, or I can do that. When anyone's baby is not on a schedule, you're kind of just flying by the seat of your pants. Yeah. And you're like hoping they go down for a nap, and that could be any time between now and the next 3 hours.
Yeah.
And you can't make plans. You can't say, hey, I'm going to do this later, or I'm going to go to the grocery store at this point, or I'm going to go meet up with this person pre-COVID, whatever. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't really like do anything. And so for me, structure was really important. And it was great to be able to go, okay, my daughter's napping from this time to this time. Yes, we can meet you at the restaurant at 11 o'clock. She'll be awake and we can do that, or whatever, the schedule is. And that to me was really important, because it gave me sanity back. Like, it gave me a level of like, okay, I have some control over what's going on in the day. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's really important. And I think, a lot of things too is like, when, especially like for naps and things like that, and we were very diligent. Like, if it's nap time, then we would definitely, she would sleep, But if she woke up 10 minutes early, let's just say, which is totally okay because they're not robots, it's not a set timer, you know, okay. But we would leave her in her crib until it was time. And she would just sit in there. And sometimes she would just be quiet and not do much. And sometimes she'd coo and babble and, you know, roll around. But we left her in there because even if they're not, and this is really important, so I think that this is a good one, but even if they're not sleeping, the quiet time, the dark time, it is like restorative still. So if think of like your phone, if you're like plugged in and you're like on a supercharger, it's going to charge in like 15 minutes. Think of that as like a nap, but you're like on one of those chargers. It's still charging, but it's kind of slow. You know, you're like, come on. That's still like that. It's still recharging them. It's still good for them. It's good to understand that they can just be in their crib or bassinet or wherever they're sleeping and be quiet and have quiet time. And it still helps. And I think a lot of parents are like, oh, they're awake. Well, they're awake. You know, he's awake. She's awake. Let's go get her. And it's like, well, no, leave her in there. She's happy. Leave her in there, you know?
Yep. And that's so good too. That's another thing that this friend had said, because you want to set them up for, like, as they get older. I mean, my son is almost 6. He still naps. And I know he is like
I wish I could still nap.
I know people are like, how is that possible? I'm like, I don't know, but and when he doesn't nap and the other one doesn't nap, they have quiet time in their room. And like, because of that tip, because of someone saying it's okay to have some quiet time, to have some, cut the sensory, cut the noise, just time alone. And I mean, they weren't in there for hours. There were minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And I think like building that over time. So now I feel like these 2 kids, which, you know, as I say this, it makes them sound like my kids are perfect. They're not. They are evil rascals. But they can
perfect.
They can do time in their room with books and on their bed. And it's like, it's a gift to them, not just mom, but it's a gift to them, because everything can't be just lights, noise, movement, shows, all the things. And so I love that they can just go look at books and play by themselves and imagine. And so I feel like that tip really set me up for long-term success. And I think for people like me, they need to know, like, when you're a new mom, you are in the now. Like, all you're thinking about is survival. But these things that you're saying are really setting your child up for like the first 5 years and beyond.
Absolutely.
And like, that's, I mean, you don't even think that you're going to make, like, you think, I remember people were like, pretty soon your kid's going to be in elementary school. And I was like, are you out of your mind? Every hour feels like a year. And here we are. Yeah. And here we are, like, my kid starts kindergarten in 2 weeks. And so it happens so fast. And
it's
so I'm
just been fast. And it's really important. Like, sleep is so important for them developmentally. I mean, all you know, growth, everything is happening while they're sleeping. Like, muscles are growing, you know, brain is developing, everything is happening. So for us, it was, don't get me wrong, I wanted her to sleep. I wanted to sleep, you know, but for me, it was more of like, I need to help her do this, because how she sleeps and how she naps and how, you know, she's going to sleep through the night or not, or whatever, that's all coming from me.
Right.
I'm paving the road here, and I'm either going to help her or I'm going to, you know, make it a little bit harder. And so we were just it was very important for us to make sure that we set her on the right path, that she could fall asleep independently. You know, she used to use a pacifier, and that had to go cold turkey because, you know, the pacifier is awesome. There's nothing wrong with using a pacifier. But in our situation, she was swaddled and it would fall out, and then she'd wake up, but she can't grab for it or anything because she's swaddled. And so we had to pull the pacifier cold turkey. I mean, we ended up within the same, like, I want to say week or 10 days, she rolled over. We lost the pacifier. Swaddle was gone. I mean, it was just like, it was like, I will never forget the first time she rolled. I was in the Nordstrom changing room, changing her diaper. She's right next to me. I reached into the bag to grab the diaper, and I mean, I'm talking like I'm against the edge of this little cushion, and I grabbed the diaper and she has rolled, and I'm like, there was a mom there breastfeeding. I was like, did she just roll over? She's like, yeah. And she's like, was that her first time? I'm like, how did she do that? I was like, well, there goes the swaddle.
Yeah.
Like, no signs of showing she was like rolling or anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's another thing like to talk about is like, because I think right when babies start to roll, or they start to crawl, or they start to sit up, nap times can become really hard because all they want to do is do what they've been doing. Like they just learned something, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
I want to do this. I want to do this all day. Like, and I've noticed like nap times kind of get a little crazy around times when they have just kind of learned something major, whether it's walking, standing, sitting, crawling, rolling. Practice, 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 whatever they just learned during the day while they're awake. Get it out of their system. So we would sit down with her and help her roll one way and then help her roll back the other way. And we just were rolling back and forth so that by the time it was nap time, she's like, I'm over this rolling thing. Just leave me alone and let me go to sleep.
Yes, that's so good.
I'm done rolling. I'm done rolling. So practice all of those things with them while they're awake. And especially if they're out of a swaddle, my daughter sleeps in a sleep sack and it prevents her from standing up and sitting. It just kind of still keeps her, she's definitely a little bit more mobile, but she doesn't have the flexibility of standing and walking and going back and forth. So it does help keep her in like sleep zone.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So tell me about kids that are a little older. Do you work with parents that, you know, as their kids are out of the newborn stage, they're finding hiccups with kids, you know, younger kids? Is there an age range, or is there, you know, something that you typically see in kids?
A lot of times parents will reach out probably during regressions because they're like, you know, the 4-month mark is a good one because they're like, what's happening here? And you're like, yeah, you know, or as they get older, that's kind of when they start to deviate from, you know, taking naps and things are happening and then they're going through leaps and there's all this stuff. And so I feel like sometimes parents will generally reach out when something's either been going on for a while and they're just like, okay, I've had enough. Like, how do I help my kid sleep? Or, hey, my kid was a good sleeper, but all of a sudden this is happening or that's happening. And so, yeah, we see that a lot, like 4 months. I mean, anywhere 4, 6, 10, 12, like, yeah, absolutely. There's not really, it really, again, it depends on every baby, their parents, what their threshold is, you know, what's going on.
Right. So let's talk a little bit about potty training and what you offer for potty training help. Because yesterday you and I talked, and I feel like I'm in potty training hell. And so talk to me a little bit about what you do there.
So with potty training, it's a little bit different. We just have like one package, and there are books out there that are like you can get that are like 3-day potty training, and this is pretty similar. One of the things that we do is so if someone were to go to my website and try to purchase a package, it's going to direct you to our contact page because you're going to have to talk to me first before we pick up a package, because I don't want you getting a package that you may not need. That's too much time. But with potty training specifically, what we do is we do like a readiness checklist to see if they're actually ready. Everything's different, and there are signs, there are things to look for to see if they're actually ready to potty train. So before you even go spending money, before you're buying a book, or if you use me or buy a book or try to wing it, it doesn't matter. Like the first things first is let's figure out if they're ready. And if they are showing signs that they're ready, we do offer a 3-day package. I have a custom curated guide that, you know, you'll get from me. That's the Sleep and Potty Co guide. It's pretty funny. It makes me laugh. I don't know.
You're getting to know your personality and your humor. I'm sure it is very funny.
I think it's funny. And so you'll get a guide, and then you'll get some support. You'll get a potty certificate to fill out for when they're done. And then you get a potty chart. So part of potty training is also like the kids are old enough to understand like rewards, and they need to be reminded. And so there's a potty chart that it's kind of like I emailed it to you. It's just a day chart. And it's just basically like, hey, you can either use stickers. If anybody that has kids that age, you probably have stickers in the house, or you can just check it off. And it's like, hey, I said I need to go potty or poo. Yay. Awesome. I flushed the toilet. I went poo. I went potty. I washed my hands. I mean, all of those things are wins. They're all wins. The wins are not going to happen all at once.
Yeah.
You're going to have some wins. Then they're going to poop in the corner. And it's just, you know, these things happen.
Yeah.
But ultimately, and then obviously we're here for support, again, via text or email. And it's just like, hey, because I hear a lot like, oh my God, day 1 was great, but day 2, and it's like, hey, this is totally normal. It's okay. Keep it up. And that's what we offer with the potty training.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's just, again, it's like support. It's somebody going, hey, this is totally normal.
Yeah.
You know, hey, you know, you're hovering, but don't nag. Hey, sorry, there's all these like different things to do and questions that you may have along the way. There's a couple of options. You can go bare bottom or you can wear big kid undies. Yeah. There are 2 schools of thought. There's nothing wrong with them. I personally leave that up to the parents because it's got to be something that they're comfortable with. And different kids respond to different things. So, you know, it's really important to kind of hear again I just try to give a little bit more detail because for me, guidelines are great, but they can also sometimes be a little too vague. Yeah. And if they're vague, I feel like this stuff, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Right.
So those are the areas that I think we help and support and just kind of be there and give you the tools that you need. Here's what you know, get this, get that, buy this, buy that, and go from there.
That's so good. I think, you know, when we chatted yesterday, I was thinking about our conversation and you were very disarming. You're very easy to talk to and very like comforting. And I'm a parent who's been doing this for now almost 6 years. And I, you know, getting off the phone with you, I was like, wow, I feel like that was really helpful to me. And so, but it got me thinking about, you know, we're a military family and nearing the end of, you know, my husband's military career. And so we've spent, you know, being pregnant in one state and having a baby in another state. And so we've just been alone, you know, we haven't had family and people with us. And so, like I say, that the lactation consultant that I worked with was almost like a mother to me. And I think she realizes that there, or, you know, like a sister, or there's just some intimate connection in terms of someone helping you in the most tender, raw, beautiful moments of your life. And I think it was a gift to me, even if she didn't, and she did teach me so much, but even if she didn't teach me anything earth shattering, to be told and to have somebody go, you got it. You're doing it right. That's your mama gut. You are a mom for this child and you are communicating in a way that nobody else could. Like, those things were so empowering. So working with someone was literally the best gift I'd ever had. And I think that this is like you had said, we were talking about like all the baby gear and all the things you think you have to have, which is so ridiculous. And like, I wish that this was the gift somebody would have given me. And now I think this is the gift I'm going to give like new moms is a gift certificate. And then they need to call you and then set this up, because honestly, like, so many of us don't have our families. You don't have to be military. You don't have your family around. Or maybe it's not a relationship where you want to go and get that info, or you want less insight from your in-laws, or
the in-laws don't agree, and
yes,
well, and here it's like your e-ticket. Hey guys, my sleep consultant told me to do this. Sorry.
Yep.
I'm just following the rules. I don't know, like you know, you can just kind of wash your.
My expert told me.
Yes, my expert.
Yes.
And it's true. Like I totally understand what you're saying about, for us, like I said, just knowing, hey, this is what happened today. This is what I did. That was great. And you're like, oh, okay. Ooh, cool. Because it's just, you don't know, especially if you're a first time mom. And even if you're a second or third time mom and this baby is not as a great sleeper as maybe the first baby was or whatever. And I think it's, you know, like you and I did talk about, like, I've had so many friends ask me, like, even before I was a sleep consultant, like, hey, what are the things, you know, everybody give me your top 5 purchases. And it's like, what, you know, it's like, and I was like, sleep consultant, like get a sleep consultant. Like I promise you, you're not going to care what kind of garbage can you bought. Like that's the best money you can spend, because it's literally for a lifetime. Like what you're doing now is for a lifetime. And there's no price on that. Like, you know, we walk in, it's nap time, change her, put her diaper on, read her a story, and put her down to bed. And she's awake, and we smile at her, and we say, have a good nap. And she's like, we'll blow us, and she's like, good night, close the door, lights out, you know. And oh, for the newborn mom, I hope she's still on. Start a bedtime routine. Start it now. Even if it's like, bedtime routine can be, for newborns, it's going to be like 5 to 6 minutes, or, you know, like there's you don't have a lot of awake time, but you've fed them, you've kept him awake for as long as you possibly can. And at bedtime, we would always change her, put her in whatever she was going to be sleeping in, swaddle her, fresh diaper, and then read her a book, a quick board book. You know, those books are like, you can get through one in like 3 to 4 minutes. We did that day one. Start a bedtime routine, because that triggers the routine of like, oh, when this is happening, this means it's like bedtime. And even though they don't get it, they'll get it. It's all starting like now.
You are so right. We sang one short little song since birth, and okay, again, almost 6 years old. Every night he goes, Mom, my song, and so I sing it, and his eyes go, it's like magic. It's like and bedtime routine doesn't, you're absolutely right. And thank you for mentioning that. It doesn't have to be a book. It could be a song. It could be, you know, whatever it is. It could be just you chit-chatting and I love you and have a good sleep, but something that you do, and make sure whoever's doing bedtime, it's the same bedtime routine, BTR. It's the same thing. So mom's doing it or dad's doing it. And it's good to also like switch it up. Right? Because you don't want babies to get used to just mom doing bedtime routines. Right. So when dad comes in, they're like, what are you doing here? Yeah, get out of here, man.
Where's the other one?
Yes, exactly.
Where's the other one? Where's she?
Yeah.
And so it's really important to like have both parents involved if you can, and switch it up in terms of, you know, having different parents do bedtime so they understand mom can put me down, dad can put me down. Sometimes we both put her down if we're both like, because usually one of us is cooking dinner or the other one's putting her down, or vice versa. But sometimes we'll both go in there and put her down. And even if my husband's doing BTR, I will come in at the very end, give her kisses right before he puts her down. And it's just important to start that now. And I remember like somebody going, well, do they even know, like, they don't understand what you're saying. It's like, yep, it's fine. Like we have a routine, and reading books for children is so good. Singing songs, just communicating, them hearing your voice, and just doing the same thing daily. And then as they get older and awake windows are longer, then like now we do a couple of books, and you know, bedtime routine includes, because newborns, sometimes some parents, you know, don't do baths every night. Now it's like bath, it's pajama, it's whatever, it's books, and then bedtime. So and you get to do more and more as they can stay awake more, but start that with a newborn day one. Yeah.
Well, and it's so, you know, what's so funny about what you're saying is that I think the most simple things are the things that are the best for us. And because one of the things that I'm constantly talking about with regards to adult wellness is, you know, that if you ask me what the number one thing you could do for your health to live a long, healthy life, it's sleep. It's so important from, you know, in utero to the day we die. It's literally sleep, and not getting enough sleep. I mean, the research is so conclusive that it will shorten our lifespan. It will lead to disease. It will lead to obesity. And so this isn't any different. So we really are training them for a whole lifetime. And so it's just funny because this is like really wellness, not just, you know, like this is for us, this is for our kids, like, and this is critical to us being healthy humans.
There's a documentary, I think it's on, I want to say it's on Netflix, but it's called Babies. It's like a docuseries.
Yes.
Okay. And one of the episodes specifically spoke about sleep. And there was an experiment that they did with, like, please don't hold me to these numbers, but let's say five kids. And they brought 5 kids in introduced like 5 or 6 different toys to them, showed them how to play with the toy. 5 kids saw the toys, saw how to play with the toys, and then those 5 babies went and took naps.
Mm-hmm.
Group 2 of 5 kids, same toys. Here's what we did. Here's how you use the toys. No naps. After they woke up from their nap, came back, the kids that had their nap had much more memory retention of what the toys did and how to use them and how to play. Like it just came back because of a nap versus the kids that didn't nap. It's pretty fun. It's a pretty interesting docuseries, but that was pretty cool to see. I mean, you saw the kids like going, oh, I remember this. Yeah. And it was much more prevalent in the kids that napped group.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so interesting. So, so I want people to be able to find you and so and connect with you and you know, buy their next baby gift from you, a package of sleep consulting or potty training. So how can we find you?
So Instagram is at Sleep and Potty Co. Okay. Facebook is at Sleep and Potty Co. And then I've got a website, which is just www.sleepandpottyco.com. My website has sleep packages and what the differences are. Costs are on there. We're fully transparent. Mm-hmm. It's got some, you know, frequently asked questions. We also offer a registry package, which is like, okay, this was like my little breakdown. I don't really break down very easily, but the day that I went to the baby, Bye Bye Baby.
Oh, yeah. What is that? Yeah.
They gave me a list. And my husband and I were like doing our registry thing. And I want to say like an hour in or 45 minutes in, literally had a meltdown in the store. 2 seconds away from like just falling to pieces, crying.
Yeah.
And my husband's like, I was like, what is all this? Like, what? Yeah. Like it was just too much.
Yeah.
Of too much. Of too much.
Yes.
Like, I don't even know. I'm like, sanitizer. There's like 17 different bottle sanitizers. Yeah. Like I can't. I just like it was like too much. It was overwhelming. I am like our house is very. It's just minimal. I don't like clutter. Yeah. I'm like. Everything in a place for everything. Yeah. And like I'm picturing like, oh my God, I need a baby cooker, I need a sanitizer, my counters are gonna be full of crap. Yeah. Like, I can't do this. And so we literally left and I didn't finish registry. When we got in the car, I was like, I'm looking at this list now I went from like meltdown to like I'm just angry. I don't even know why, but I'm just like just angry. I'm like, what? Sanitizer? What? Like what do you need a sanitizer for? And I come home and I'm like, our dishwasher has a sanitize function. Don't need that. Okay. And then I'm like doing research. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't have to sanitize the bottles after every time they use it. It's like when you first get them. Great. Okay. I can boil those. I can put them in the dishwasher. I have sanitize function. There's a lot on these lists that like you just don't need. Correct. Until my daughter was off of her bottle, we had 2 bottles in the house. Yeah. 2, not 6, not 8, not 20. And so with the baby registry, I was like, somebody needs to know this. They need to know they don't need all of this stuff. Yes. Like it's insane. So one of the things that we also offer too is help with the registry. So like, hey, I created my own list that's like, these are the things you need. And we can talk about what you need now versus what you need way later. Yeah. You know, or what you can buy now and save money that you don't need to do later, what you don't need to buy. That to me was also really important because I know for me that kind of rattled me in a way that was like, this is insane. It was like it was so much stuff. Yeah. And we have always like kept our house to a minimum, not having stuff strewn about everywhere. But I'm also very diligent in doing research, and it's like, what do I need and what's the best thing and what, like, you know, all these different little things. And so that's another piece of what we offer because you don't need all that stuff. Yeah. And the things, you know, you don't even realize the things you're buying are for like 6 months, a year from now, and you're just a storage. And it just sits there, and then you have to open in the box, something's wrong with it, and you can't return it because
No.
you've had it for like 7 months.
Exactly.
No, and those are the things I think a lot of like, especially new parents don't know. And so that's another thing that I struggled with. And I am like not someone that would struggle with something like, but I was like, this is, if you don't know, if you don't know, you don't know. So someone just goes, this is what you need. And you're like, oh my God. And then I was like, yeah, I don't need a baby cooker. I have a pot and pan.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, you know, and if you want, there are advantages, and those are things I think I can go, hey, but if you don't want clutter, if you don't want this, like, then avoid X, Y, and Z. And so that's another piece that is really important.
Absolutely. So, and one thing that you've offered viewers for the month of August is 20% off of the package. And so with code green.and.well, I think is it green.and.well 20? Yep.
Yeah.
And so, so give her a follow, please, on Instagram at Sleep and Potty Co. Right?
Yep.
And I'm going to post this on my grid. I'm going to put all of your information, and then they can follow you, find you, reach out to you. And then when this COVID nightmare is over, I'm coming down to San Diego and I am taking you out to drinks. I cannot wait.
Oh, that sounds great. And
Yeah.
I also just want to like add in, for me, like, if you have done any baby research, or, you know, from parents out there that have looked at websites, you'll see that they're all like clouds and fluff and stars and like, and all that jazz. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not authentic to me. And I think it's not authentic to a lot of people. And so my website and our voice is a little bit more, I think, real, because parents are struggling. Babies are like, it's not easy. It's not easy, you know? And so I think if you have enjoyed, I think, this conversation today, and you'll see that the website kind of lends more to like my personality and that sort of level of like, listen, let's not pretend that your babies are like sleeping perfectly and they're not like losing their minds every now and then, because it happens. But that's just kind of a different approach that we wanted to bring to, and I think it helps parents feel a little bit better of like, okay, my baby is not like, these sleeping babies are, you know, it's just, it's great. And your baby will get there, but when you're looking for something, that's probably not where your baby is.
Yeah, exactly. It is a very real approach, and I think a very like just a breath of fresh air, honestly. I think it's like a breath of fresh air. And I hope that people not only follow you, get a package for themselves, or a baby. I mean, honestly, I think this is like the new baby gift. Like,
I'm probably one of the few people that actually offers gift certificates. From research, and I was like, why is nobody doing this? This is a great baby shower gift.
Oh, that would be a gift of a lifetime. If somebody gave me this as a new mom, I would be like, you love me, don't you?
Totally.
This is love. So awesome. Okay, well, thank you so much for your time. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm honored to like have, you know, to be included in your show, and I'm so grateful to have met you.
Well, this is a huge part of wellness. So thank you for your time today, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Okay,
bye.
Bye.
Bye.